8th grade lesson 15.1 is two-way frequency tables. By the way, you guys, 15.1 is the second to last lesson in this math book. So you are nearly done. Great job. We have filled your brain with so much information. Two-way frequency tables to me are like a jigsaw puzzle. So, when you start, it looks pretty overwhelming. There's all these pieces, but as soon as you start putting certain ones into place, things start falling together. So hopefully that's how you'll feel about this. Things will fall together. Some vocabulary that goes along with this. Frequency, as you probably already know, is the number of times an event will occur. And a two-way table is the frequency of the data categorized in two ways. So you might have two pieces of information going on, and there's a combination of the ways those wrap up together. It's better to see it than to explain it. So let me get into this and show you. So here we have this story about residents having bicycles, going to farmer's market, don't have bicycles, not going to farmer's market, all kinds of stuff going on. And it's a whole lot of information. What the two-way table does for us is sorts it out nicely. A poll of, so they questioned 120 town residents and found that 40% of them own a bike. Of those who own a bike, 75% of them shop at the farmer's market. Of those who do not own a bike, 25% of them shop at the farmer's market. Now, given that information, your brain would be like, oh, I don't know. And you'd be trying to sort it out. Well, the two-way table helps you sort those out. And so the first step you want to do is start at the bottom right over here. This cell is going to talk about the total amount of people asked. So you will go up here and find, the total amount of people asked was 120. I'll highlight that for us. 120 residents. Let's put that as our total. We're going to start with that. And now on this one, since they're talking about bikes and not having bikes here, let's fill in the totals over here. We do know that these two totals will need to be 120 when I add these two together. So let's keep reading. Let me get my highlighter. Let's go blue here. They found that 40% own a bike. So of all of the 120 people, 40% own a bike. Now I need a regular pen. 40% or 0.40 times all of the residents that were polled, 120 of them, is 48. So of the 120, 48 own a bike. Well, again, remember I said this plus this is going to give us total residents. So 48 of them own a bike, the rest don't. So let's take this 120 and subtract 48 to find out how many don't own a bike. Remember what I said about puzzle pieces? You can just slowly start finding which pieces go where. So we have 72 that do not own a bike. Okay. What information do they give us next? Of those who own a bike, these people, 48 in total, 75% shop at the farmer's market. Okay, let's highlight some information here. Let's go with green. Of those who do own a bike, 75% shop at the farmer's market. So what I need is 75%, 0.75 of multiplied by the 48 that own a bike, because I know that amount now. So we're backing up from information that we've gathered, and now we're using that. I would calculate 0.75 times 48, and I got 36. You can check your calculations. I'm doing those. I'm not asking you to, but if you're needing to practice those, you may want to pause every time I go to do the calculation and do it and then check it with mine. You know where you're at and what you need practice on by now. So 36 of the 120 people who own a bike also go to the farmer's market. Again, over here, here's that puzzle piece. This row needs to equal 48. This plus this equals 48. So I can reverse that. 48 minus 36 is going to equal that. And that will be 12. Sorry, that green doesn't show up so well there, but hopefully it's close enough. I just wanted to color code it to help you make sense of things. Let's see what other information they give us. Of those who do not own a bike, I'm not sure what color to go here. Let's go gray. who do not own a bike, 25% shop at the farmer's market. So remember, these are the people who do not own a bike, 72. 25% of them shop at the farmer's market. So we're going to do 25% times the 72 people who do not own a bike. If you want to try that calculation, if you're practicing your calculations, go ahead and pause it and try it. I'm going to do it right now. I got 18. Hopefully you did too. And that is the people that don't have a bike but shop at the farmer's market. And here I am again. I know this row. These two need to add to 72. And if I know that, then I can do 72 minus 18 to find out how much is missing. All those puzzle pieces falling right into place. And that equals 54. Okay, and then from here, it's pretty easy because I know that these two values add together for this, and these two values add together for this. So I just need to do a little bit of addition, and I can double check everything by making sure that these two add to that, to 120. If these two add to 120, then I've probably done everything correctly. So it's big pieces of puzzle. Start over here with the total, what percent of the total, you're dealing with that total category, and then just go bite by bite. This is definitely one of those things you want to go one bite at a time. Do not shove that whole waffle in your mouth. It's too difficult and confusing that way. One bite at a time. The second part of this lesson is talking about relative frequency, and that is just the ratio. Remember the something to something ratio. We can write it as a fraction a lot of the times. The number of times an event occurs compared to the number of events. So they've explained it in here. I'll just give it some verbal explanation to it. If we have 100 teens that were polled, 100, whether they are required to do chores and whether they have a curfew, is there an association between having a curfew and having to do chores? So if they have chores, 16 who have chores have a curfew while 4 do not. That's a total of 20. Those who do not have to do chores, lucky kids, 16 have curfews and 64 do not have curfews, giving a total of 80 kids. And then here's the total who have to do curfews. Here's the total who do not have to do curfews. And here's the total students or teens. They might ask you, like, so sometimes they'll give you all the data there and you just have to kind of look it over to see what information is available, like we just did. Find the relative frequency, this guy, the ratio, of having to do chores. So we would go through and we would see how many teens had to do chores, and it's 20 out of the total teens polled, 100. So I'm going to write that as a ratio. 20 out of 100 teens had to do chores. So this is our ratio. And of course, we generally like those as percents, right? Well, 20%, 20 divided by 100 is 0.20, and that as a percent is 20%, which we knew because 20% is out of 100, and this one was already out of 100, so that was helpful. 20% of the teens have to do chores. That seems like little to me. My kids always had to do chores. Find the relative frequency of having to do chores among those who have a curfew. Okay, now I'm looking at how many who have a curfew total, 32 total, have to do chores. So it's 16 out of the 32. That's the difference between those numbers. 32 total have a curfew, and out of those, 16 of them have to do chores. And I would do 16 divided by 32, and I would get 0.50, and then move that decimal over twice to make it out of 100. 50% of the students who have a curfew also have to do chores. To compare the relative frequency, students who have a curfew are more likely to have to do chores than the general population. There is an association. The relative frequencies show that students who have a curfew are more likely to have to do chores than the general population of teens polled. And you can see this with the data. If you see the kids of that do not have to do chores, 80 of them, most of them have no curfew. Chaos in the home, right? Who has no rules? I bet you probably have chores and curfews. I don't know. My kids had curfews and chores to do. So So that's how you do a relative frequency. You just find the ratio of the information they're asking you compared to the total of that information they're asking you. And so it just is a little bit of attention to detail, but otherwise that's fine. And once you have the ratio in fraction form, do the division and then move the decimal over twice for your percent. That's it for this lesson. It's the two-way table. Practice that a little bit. Again, that's bite by bite. You can't just shove that waffle in your mouth, all that information, and try and figure out where it goes. Do one piece at a time and it falls together. And if they're looking for relative frequency, the ratio number of times an event occurred, in this case how many kids had chores out of the kids polled, in this case how many of the kids who have a curfew had to do chores. This was chores on the curfew row out of total curfew kids. So you just figure out what they're trying to find out, you make a ratio out of it, and then you calculate it. I think you're going to do just fine on this section. Good luck.